There comes a point in life when everything familiar begins to fade. Friends grow distant, loved ones feel far away, and even your own voice seems lost in the silence. Loneliness settles in, not just around you, but within you. You begin to wonder if anyone truly sees you, if your presence still matters in a world that feels colder by the day. But through the eyes of Buddhist wisdom, this solitude is not a punishment, it's an invitation. It's not a sign that you are unloved or forgotten. It is a sacred space where awareness can grow and where your true self begins to emerge. Loneliness is not your enemy, it is your teacher. As the Buddha once said, if you find no one to support you on the spiritual path, walk alone. There is no companionship better than awareness. Even in your quietest, most distant moments, you are never truly alone. 1. Loneliness is not a curse. It is a mirror revealing the forgotten self. Most people think of loneliness as something negative, something painful that needs to be fixed or avoided as quickly as possible. We turn on the television, scroll through social media, or surround ourselves with noise, not because we're truly busy, but because we're afraid of being alone with our thoughts. But in Buddhist wisdom, loneliness isn't seen as a punishment or a flaw in your personality. It's actually seen as an opportunity, a mirror that shows you things you haven't been willing to face. This mirror doesn't reflect how the world sees you. It reflects how you see yourself when all distractions are stripped away. It quietly reveals the dreams you left behind because life got too loud, the feelings you buried under responsibilities, the true self that was once full of life and curiosity but has been silenced by expectations, disappointments, and the constant need to fit in. In your loneliness, you don't discover something new. You uncover what's been there all along, waiting patiently beneath the noise. We often base our identity on how other people treat us. If people like us, we feel worthy. If they ignore us, we start to doubt ourselves. But this way of living keeps you dependent on things you can't control. It keeps you chasing approval instead of discovering your own voice. Loneliness removes the outside noise so that you can finally hear what's going on inside. At first, that silence can be uncomfortable, but eventually it becomes a space of truth. Remember, even the Buddha didn't reach enlightenment surrounded by crowds or praise. He reached it in deep silence, under the Bodhi tree, alone with his thoughts, his fears, and his searching heart. He didn't run from the emptiness she turned toward it, and in doing so, he found clarity. So the next time you feel completely alone, don't rush to escape it. Pause, breathe, sit with it, because your solitude is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is a sacred space where healing begins, where clarity arises, and where your forgotten self comes home. You don't need someone else to complete you when you finally understand that being alone is not a punishment. It's an invitation. Solitude is not empty, it is full of truth, and when you stop fearing it, it becomes the most honest teacher you'll ever meet. 2. You are not being punished. You are being protected and redirected. When people leave your life without warning, when relationships break apart, or when you find yourself excluded from groups, plans, or conversations, you might start to believe that you've done something wrong. It can feel like you're being punished, like life is taking something away from you because you're not good enough, smart enough, or lovable enough. That pain is real, but the meaning you attach to it isn't always true. From a Buddhist perspective, when something or someone disappears from your life, it's not always a loss, it might actually be protection in disguise. Life has its own quiet intelligence. Sometimes it removes people not to hurt you, but to save you from harm you don't yet see. Maybe that friend was slowly draining your energy, pulling you away from your purpose, or planting seeds of self-doubt inside your mind. Maybe that opportunity you desperately wanted would have taken you down a path that looked good on the surface, but was empty underneath. You may not understand why things are being taken from you now, but that's because you're still standing in the middle of the story. Clarity comes later, like a sunrise after a long night. Buddhism teaches that attachment leads to suffering, not just attachment to things, but attachment to people, plans, and expectations. When those attachments are cut, it can feel like the ground is being pulled from beneath your feet. But what's really happening is this: you are being realigned. The people who are meant to walk with you in your next chapter will show up in that chapter, not this one. And those who quietly exit your life are not your enemies. They are simply not part of your soul's current journey. This is not a punishment. It is a deep rearranging of your life to make space for something more aligned with your truth. Trust that not every loss is a mistake. Some of them are divine redirections. You are not being abandoned. You are being carefully guided by something higher than your pain. One day, you'll look back and realize that the silence, the separation, and the loneliness were not signs that you were unloved. They were signs that life was pulling you away from what was safe, but small, and preparing you for something greater than you could imagine. So the next time you're wondering why no one stayed, why everything changed, or why you feel pushed into solitude, remember this: life isn't closing doors to punish you. It's opening invisible ones you can't see yet. And sometimes, in order to rise, you first have to be alone. Not because you're not enough, but because you are finally becoming who you were always meant to be. 3. The universe that you seek outside already exists within you. When you feel lonely, it's natural to start looking outward for comfort. You might check your phone, hoping someone remembered you. You might scroll endlessly, trying to feel connected. You might sit in silence, wondering why no one is reaching out. In those moments, your heart aches for someone to make you feel seen, loved, and understood. But Buddhism gently reminds us that the connection we truly seek, the feeling of belonging, peace, and wholeness, doesn't live outside of us. It already exists inside. From the Buddhist view, everything in this world is interconnected. The same breath that fills your lungs moves through forests, oceans, and stars. The same energy that flows through mountains and rivers flows through your veins. You are not separate from the universe. You are an expression of it. You don't have to chase approval or attention to feel worthy. You were already born with value. You are already part of something far greater than you realize. When you sit in silence, you are not disappearing. You are expanding. Your awareness grows wide like the sky. Your breath becomes an anchor, connecting you to every living thing. You begin to feel a stillness, a presence that has always been there but was drowned out by noise. That presence is your inner self. And it is not empty. It is full of life, full of love, full of wisdom. It doesn't need to be fixed or filled by someone else. It just needs to be remembered. The Buddha taught that our suffering often comes from forgetting who we are. We forget that we are already whole, that we are already enough, that we don't need constant reassurance from the outside world to feel okay on the inside. When you begin to see yourself not as someone lacking love, but as someone already made of love, something shifts. The loneliness becomes lighter. The silence becomes sacred. Instead of saying, "No one cares about me," try asking, "Have I cared for myself today?" Instead of thinking, "No one sees me," ask, "Have I taken time to see my own heart?" Because the truth is, when you come home to yourself, you'll never be truly alone again. So the next time you sit in your room feeling unwanted or invisible, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and remember, you are not a disconnected piece of the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through your life The peace you seek is not far away. It is already living inside you, patiently waiting to be noticed. 4. Suffering is not the end, it is the beginning of spiritual awakening. When you're in pain, especially the pain of being alone, your first instinct is often to escape. You want to feel better and fast. You look for distractions, for reassurance, for something in thee that will numb the discomfort. But Buddhism teaches something radically different. It teaches that pain is not a problem to avoid. It's a signal, a sacred knock at the door of your soul, asking you to go deeper. In fact, it's often in your lowest moments, when everything feels broken, when no one is around, when your heart is heavy, that the true path to inner growth begins to open. When Siddhartha Gautama left his palace, he didn't walk into comfort. He walked into suffering. He saw sickness, aging, and death, and it shook him. But instead of hiding from it, he embraced the discomfort and began asking powerful questions. Why do we suffer? What is the root of human pain? How can we find true freedom? And in seeking these answers, he became the Buddha, the awakened one. Your loneliness is not meaningless. It's a doorway, a beginning. The fact that it hurts means your soul is paying attention. The ache in your chest is not just sadness, it's awakening. It's the part of you that wants truth more than comfort, growth more than distraction. And even though it's difficult, this is where transformation begins. This is where you start to shed the false layers that were built from outside expectations, layers of needing to be liked, needing to be needed, needing to be constantly surrounded to feel whole. Pain has a strange way of turning down the world's volume and turning up your inner truth. It removes the masks. It clears the fog. It reveals where your peace was built on shaky ground. And while this process can feel cruel, it is actually sacred because it's forcing you to build something real, something lasting, something no one can take away from you. The Buddhist path doesn't promise a life without suffering. It teaches that suffering is a part of life, but also that it holds the seeds of liberation. When you stop running from your loneliness and instead lean into it with curiosity, you begin to notice what's really going on inside. You begin to heal not by pushing the pain away, but by understanding it, sitting with it, breathing through it. The hardest moments in your life are not punishments. They are openings. You may not see it right now, but this sadness, this silence, this aching feeling of being unseen, it's preparing you. It's refining you. It's shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more awake than you've ever been before. So don't rush this part of your journey. Don't try to numb the pain too quickly. Let it speak. Let it teach. Because hidden inside the suffering you wish would go away is the very awakening your soul came here to find. 5. Your loneliness is shared by all beings. You are not alone in feeling alone. When loneliness wraps itself around you like a cold blanket, it often whispers a dangerous lie that you are the only one feeling this way, that no one else understands, that everyone else is connected, laughing, loved, and surrounded, while you sit silently with your thoughts, unseen and untouched. You look around and see smiling faces, perfect lives on screens, happy families in parks, and you start to believe that something must be wrong with you. You begin to think, why me? Why am I the only one who feels this invisible and forgotten? But Buddhism offers a very different and liberating truth. You are not alone in feeling alone. The pain you feel right now is not proof of your isolation. It's proof of your humanity. Everyone at some point in life carries this same weight in their heart. The ache of disconnection is not unique to you. It is something every human soul encounters on the journey through life. Even the people you envy, the ones who seem to have everything, have sat in silence at night, wondering if they truly matter. Even those who seem strong and surrounded have known moments when they felt completely lost inside. In Buddhist teachings, this universal suffering is known as dukkha, the unavoidable pain that all living beings experience. It is not a flaw, it is part of the human condition. To suffer is not to fail, it is to be alive. And within that shared suffering is the root of compassion, because the moment you realize that others hurt too, that others carry their own silent burdens, you begin to feel a softening in your heart. You stop feeling like a broken outcast and begin to understand that you are part of something larger. You are part of the human story, and your chapter, however lonely it may feel, is not separate from the rest. It is connected, deeply, invisibly, beautifully. This realization does not always take the pain away instantly, but it does change how you hold it. Instead of seeing your loneliness as a wall that separates you from others, you begin to see it as a bridge zone that links you to the hearts of people all around the world who are also silently wondering if they're alone. You begin to carry your pain with tenderness, not shame. You begin to listen more deeply, speak more honestly, and love more gently, because you know what it feels like to suffer, and that knowledge becomes your gift. Think of monks who live in solitude for years. They are not running from the world. They are embracing a deeper connection zone that comes not from constant interaction, but from quiet understanding. When they meditate, they do so not only for themselves, but for all beings. They sit in silence, not because they are alone, but because they feel connected to the entire web of life. This is the heart of Buddhist compassion, to recognize that we are all walking together, even when our paths seem separate. The next time you feel like no one cares, try this gentle practice. Close your eyes and picture someone else in the world, someone you don't even know who is feeling exactly the same pain. Maybe it's a mother in a quiet apartment, a student sitting on their bed in the dark, an elderly man watching the rain from his window, a teenager crying in a school bathroom. Breathe in their pain. Breathe out love. Silently say, I see you. I feel what you feel. May you be held in peace. What you are doing in that moment is dissolving the illusion of separation. You are remembering the invisible thread that ties all of us together, the shared longing to be seen, to be loved, to feel less alone. This is not just spiritual poetry. It is deep truth. Behind every mask is a story. Behind every smile is a struggle. Behind every stranger's eyes is a heart that has known sorrow. And once you understand this, not just in your mind but in your bones, you will never look at loneliness the same way again. It no longer becomes something to escape from. It becomes something to understand, to use, and to grow through. So the next time you're sitting alone, overwhelmed by the heaviness of silence, remember, your pain is not proof of your isolation. It is your connection. It is your reminder that you are human. And in being human, you are never truly alone. Not in your suffering, not in your search for peace, and not in your silent hope to feel whole again. 6. Your worth is not measured by who notices you. It is rooted in simply being. In the modern world, it often feels like your value is measured by how visible you are. How many people text you? How many followers you have? How many likes, compliments, invitations, and validations you receive? If no one reaches out, if your phone stays quiet, if no one seems to care, you begin to question yourself. You start to believe that your worth is shrinking, that you've somehow become less important, less lovable, or less relevant, simply because the world has gone silent around you. But this belief is not the truth. It is the noise of a culture that has forgotten the sacredness of simply being. Buddhism teaches that your true value does not depend on how others react to you. It does not rise when people praise you or fall when they ignore you. Your worth is not a vote. It is not a performance. It is not something you have to prove or earn or beg for. Your worth simply is. Just as a mountain does not need to shout to be majestic, and a flower does not need an audience to bloom, you do not need to be seen to be valuable. Your existence, your breath, your consciousness, these are already miraculous. Think of the sun. It rises every morning, silently offering light, warmth, and life to the world. Most people don't notice it. They go about their day without looking up, without acknowledging the gift of its presence. But the sun does not stop shining just because no one claps. In the same way, you must learn to shine not for attention, not for praise, but because that is your nature. Your inner light is not for display. It is for guidance. It is for truth. It is for you. Too often, we tie our self-worth to the opinions of others. We think, if they love me, I matter. If they ignore me, I don't. But this way of thinking gives away your power. It places your peace in the hands of people who may not even understand themselves, let alone understand you. Buddhism encourages a different path, a return to the self, a deep awareness that your value is not negotiable. It is not up for debate. It is not conditional on what anyone else thinks. When you sit in silence and breathe, you begin to feel it. That quiet presence within you, that stillness that does not shout or crave, but simply is. It's easy to miss it when life is loud, when you're constantly comparing, constantly waiting to be chosen, to be acknowledged. But in moments of solitude, when all the distractions fall away, you start to realize something powerful. You were never lacking. You were simply looking in the wrong place. Even in nature, this truth is reflected everywhere. A tree does not rush to be taller because someone else grew faster. A river does not question its flow because someone isn't watching it. Everything simply fulfills its purpose, quietly, confidently, naturally. And so can you. You were not made to compete or impress. You were made to live, to breathe, to feel, to love. And these things do not need validation to be real. They are real because you are here. The pain of feeling unnoticed often comes from a deeper misunderstanding that we must constantly prove we are enough. But imagine a life where you no longer needed to chase anyone's attention, where your silence was not emptiness but fullness, where you didn't have to wait for someone to choose you because you had already chosen yourself. This is what Buddhism points us toward: a peaceful mind rooted in awareness, a self not shaped by popularity but by presence. The monks who sit in temples deep in meditation are not there because they were praised by crowds. They are not concerned with recognition. Their joy comes from within, from the stillness, from the breath, from the simple act of being fully here. That same joy is available to you, even now. You don't need a perfect life. So if today feels quiet, if the phone stays silent, if no one seems to care, don't panic. Don't spiral into doubt. Breathe. Sit with yourself. Feel your own heartbeat. Notice your breath rising and falling. That rhythm is life itself. That is enough. You are enough. Your value is not something others give you. It is something you were born with. It lives in your stillness, in your sincerity, in your quiet capacity to simply exist with open awareness. You don't need to be seen to shine. You don't need to be loved by others to love yourself. You don't need to be heard to have a voice. The most powerful presence is the one that does not demand attention because it has already found peace in its own being. And that peace, that quiet, deep, unshakable peace is waiting for you in the silence, beneath the noise, beneath the need to be noticed. When you find it, you'll never again confuse attention with worth, because you'll finally know you matter because you are. 7. This feeling will not last. Even loneliness is impermanent. There are moments in life that feel like they will never end. Moments where the sadness sinks so deep, the silence becomes so loud, and the weight of loneliness so heavy that you start to believe it's permanent. You sit with your thoughts, your doubts, your aching heart, and it feels like nothing will ever change. The days blur into nights, and the nights stretch endlessly. You wonder if this emptiness is now a part of you forever, if the disconnection, the isolation, the sense of being forgotten will define the rest of your journey. But Buddhism teaches one of the most liberating and healing truths you will ever hear. Nothing lasts forever. Not joy, not pain, not even loneliness. Everything is impermanent. Everything changes. This principle of anicca, or impermanence, is one of the core teachings of the Buddha. It means that no state, no emotion, no situation is fixed. Everything is in motion. Life is not made of solid blocks. It is made of flowing rivers. What you feel today, no matter how intense, is not the final chapter. It is a passing weather pattern in the vast sky of your being. The clouds may be dark and full of rain, but they are not the sky itself. The sky remains untouched and open, holding space for all things to come and go. When you're caught in deep loneliness, it can feel like you're trapped in a cycle you can't break. But what you're experiencing isn't a life sentence, it's just a moment. A powerful, painful, and perhaps even a transformative moment. But still, it's only a moment. Think back to your past. Can you recall the worst pain you've ever felt? The heartbreak, the betrayal, the disappointment. Back then, it felt like it would never end. Yet it passed. Not instantly, and not without leaving marks, but it did pass. And this will too. The pain you feel now isn't forever. It is just a visitor, not a permanent resident. And like every visitor, it will leave when its time is up. Understanding impermanence doesn't mean you hide your feelings or pretend you're not hurting. It means sitting with your loneliness with gentle awareness. You acknowledge it completely. Yes, I feel lonely. Yes, this hurts. But this too shall pass. When you do this, something within you starts to shift. You go from being inside the storm to watching it. You become the observer, the witness, and by doing this, you discover a space within yourself that is deeper than the emotion. A calm awareness that gently holds even your pain with compassion. The Buddha often shared the example of a lotus flower. The lotus grows from mud, rising through dirty water toward the light. It isn't harmed by the mud, it is shaped by it. Your loneliness is like the mud, and you are the lotus, slowly rising, reaching, and transforming. Right now, it might feel messy. It might feel like the light is still far away, but with every breath you take mindfully, you rise a little higher. Every moment you choose to stay present with your pain instead of running away from it is a sign that you are growing. The risk of forgetting impermanence is that we start to make our pain part of who we are. We say things like, "I'm always alone," or "No one ever stays," or "This is just the way I am." But these are just stories, not facts. They are the mind's way of creating permanence where it doesn't exist. The moment you say, "This is how it will always be," you shut the door to change. But when you say, "This is how it feels right now," you create space for healing. You leave room for life to surprise you, and it will. The changing seasons remind us that nothing stays the same. Winter might feel long and cold, but spring always comes back. The tree that looks lifeless today will bloom again, and your heart will bloom too. Your happiness will return, not by force, but by flow. All you need to do is stay grounded, stay patient. Be kind to yourself and trust that what you're feeling now is just a part of a bigger journey that you may not fully understand yet. You're not broken because you feel lonely. You're simply human. You're feeling the raw and honest truth of being alive. And just like waves that rise and fall, this feeling will pass too. One day, you'll look back on this time, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. because it taught you how to sit with yourself. It taught you how to listen. It taught you how to feel. And in that stillness, something sacred happened. You started to awaken. So if you're hurting right now, remember this. Your loneliness is not forever. It is not your destiny. It is not who you are. It's just a moment in time, like a cloud passing across your sky. Let it move, let it rain if it must, but always remember the sun behind it. Never forget that you are more than your feelings. You are awareness, calm, clear, and timeless. That awareness will guide you beyond the silence, beyond the pain, and back to the light that was never truly gone. It was only hidden, waiting, just like you, for the right moment to rise again. If there is one truth to carry from this journey, let it be this: you were never truly alone. Even in the quietest rooms, even in the deepest ache of isolation, even when it felt like the world had turned away, you were still seen, still connected, still held by something greater than you could understand in that moment. Loneliness is not proof that something is wrong with you. It's not a punishment. It's not a sign that you are unlovable or forgotten. It is a sacred invitation, a gentle call to return to yourself, to listen to your breath, to reconnect with your soul without the noise of the world interrupting. Buddhism teaches us that everything we seek on the outside, love, peace, belonging, worth, is already within us. It has always been there. The pain of loneliness simply clears the surface, allowing us to finally see what's been there all along. You are not broken because you feel empty. That emptiness itself is a teacher. That silence is a space where truth begins to grow. And even if no one calls, even if no one texts, even if the world feels distant, your existence still matters deeply. The universe doesn't create extras. You are not just a background character in someone else's story. You are the sacred unfolding of life itself, just as worthy, just as important, just as radiant as every star in the sky. So the next time you feel like no one cares, pause for a moment, sit quietly, and breathe. Place your hand softly on your heart and remind yourself, this moment will pass. This feeling is not the truth of who I am. I am part of something vast, something alive, something beautiful. And I belong. And when you rise from that stillness, rise gently, walk slowly, speak softly. Carry with you the quiet strength that comes not from being surrounded by people, but from finally remembering who you truly are. You are not alone. You never were. You had simply forgotten to look within, and now you're starting to remember. This is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of your awakening.